The Palestinian struggle for freedom is as old as time itself, maybe even older. For example, look at this poster from 1947. No, that's a Zionist poster. Fine. But how can you not shed a tear at this plea from 1940? Dang it! That's also a Zionist poster. Fine. But this exhibition from 1925 must be... Oh shit, Tel Aviv, totally Jewish, totally Zionist. Yeah, fine, okay. But this poster from 1919 must be... Damn, also Zionist. Fine. But this iconic poster, used by free Palestinians everywhere, is surely the work of Zionist artist Franz Krauss, created to encourage Jewish immigration to mandatory Palestine. Okay, so turns out that Free Palestine was a Zionist slogan until it was appropriated by the Arabs. Cultural appropriation alert! The word Palestine was first used as a political term by Roman Emperor Adrian in order to punish the rebellious Jews by renaming their province, Judea, after their ancient enemies, the Philistines. The actual name he used was Syria Palestina, sort of like if someone renamed modern Israel Nazi Porkistine. While the name was used by both the Roman occupiers and the Arab occupiers, it wasn't used by the Islamic Ottoman Empire, which ruled the region from 1517 to 1917. So, how was the region called for almost half a millennia? Well, it wasn't called anything. Instead of being a single province like in Roman and Arab times, it was split between the Beirut Vilayet, the Jerusalem Mustarafite, and the Hijaz Vilayet, which also included parts of Egypt, Arabia, and Lebanon. The people who lived there had no more national identity than the people of Madison County. They were just Ottoman subjects. So you see, the British didn't conquer Palestine in 1917, they created it. From that moment, when people spoke about Palestinians or cried Free Palestine, they meant the Jews. Horrifying. If you look at the UN partition map from 1947, you'll see that mandatory Palestine is divided between Jews and Arabs. No mention of a Palestinian people. If you called an Arab living in mandatory Palestine Palestinian, he'd either be confused or offended. For example, in the First Congress of Muslim Christian Associations, which met in Jerusalem in 1919, the following resolution was adopted. We consider Palestine as part of Arab Syria, as it has never been separated from it in any time. We are connected with it by national, religious, linguistic, natural, economic, and geographical bonds. In 1937, the Arab leader, Uni Bey Abdul Hadi, told the Peel Commission, "There is no such country as Palestine. Palestine is a term the Zionists invented. There is no Palestine in the Bible. Our country was for centuries part of Syria." In 1947, the representative of the Arab Higher Committee to the United Nations submitted the following statement to the General Assembly. Palestine is part of the province of Syria. The Arabs of Palestine were not independent in the sense of forming a separate political entity. A few years later, Ahmed Shukriari, first chairman of the PLO, told the Security Council, "It is common knowledge that Palestine is nothing but southern Syria." Syria, 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 oi. Okay, so no Palestinians in British times, just Arabs who wanted to make Syria great again. Let's continue to when the Palestinian Jews gained independence from the British Empire. Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't Israel who first occupied Gaza and the West Bank in 1948. It was Egypt and Jordan. This means that between 1948 and 1967, Gaza and the West Bank were under Egyptian and Jordanian control, who also liberated it from the Jewish communities who existed there for thousands of years by killing or expelling all the Jews who lived there. This was followed by almost 20 years of 100% Judenfrei Arab rule. In 1950, Jordan upgraded its occupation to an outright annexation. Surprisingly, no one had a problem with it. In the words of American diplomat Stuart W. Rockwell, the union of Arab Palestine and Jordan had been brought about as a result of the will of the people. So, the entirety of what today is called the State of Palestine was under Arab control for almost 20 years after being 100% ethnically cleansed of Jews, unlike Israel, which already had about 20% Arab citizens. During these 20 years, the hundreds of thousands of Arabs who fled Israel were never resettled by the countries who accepted them, unlike the nearly million Jews expelled by the same countries or the Arabs who chose to remain in Israel. If these people were indeed Palestinians and Gaza and the West Bank were Palestine, why not declare a state of Palestine and resettle the Palestinians there? Why deny their children and their grandchildren citizenship even as their compatriots who stayed in Israel became Israeli citizens? Not Palestinian Israeli, by the way, Arab Israeli or just Israeli. Okay, so we are in 1964. They're making Godzilla movies in color now. But still no Palestinian state or Palestinian people, and you can't blame the Jews for it because there isn't a single Jew in Palestine. Not that the lack of Jews ever stopped anyone. Anyway, so this is still an imperialist struggle by Arab colonizers to reconquer a small bit of land from the unruly natives who had the audacity to decolonize themselves. Except it's not the kind of story people like to hear. So the Palestine Liberation Organization is formed in Cairo. Its goals include Arab unity and the liberation of Palestine. Interestingly, it makes no territorial claims over the West Bank and Gaza, making us wonder what exactly liberation of Palestine means. Perhaps the same kind of liberation the Nazis planned for Europe. In the first speech of its first head, Ahmed Shukiri, he said, "It is either us or the Israelis. We shall destroy Israel and its inhabitants. As for the survivors, if there are any, the boats are ready to deport them." This is clearly an Arab organization whose objectives are Jewish genocide and the reclamation of Arab land. Really, more of an imperialist goal than a national goal. Basically, only after Israel gained control of Gaza and the West Bank, suddenly they became part of the future Palestinian state. It's almost as if the borders of the Palestinian state correspond exactly with the borders of Israel and change as Israel borders change. I wonder, if Israel disappeared, would the historic Palestinian state disappear as well? If Israel moved to Alaska? But we digress. In 1995, prominent anti-Israeli Arab activist Azmi Bashara said, "I don't think there is such a thing as a Palestinian nation. I think it's a colonial invention. When were there Palestinians? Where is it? I think there is an Arab nation." In 2012, Hamas Minister of the Interior and of National Security, Fathi Hamed, said, "Half of the Palestinians are Egyptians, and the other half are Saudis." Seems that in order to understand Palestinian history and geography, you have to be a time-traveling 4D chess player. Boy, quantum mechanics are less confusing. However, I'll try to summarize. The Palestinians were invented in the 1960s because pan-Arabism and imperialism went out of fashion, and nationalist and indigenous struggles became fashionable, but only in the West. This required a degree of chameleonism. In short, when talking to a Muslim audience, they are part of the great Arab nation fighting to reclaim lost Islamic territory. When speaking to a Western audience, they're an oppressed indigenous minority that existed since dinosaur times. Dinosaur out, yo!